Okay, here we go for the Unit 7 Test 3 review. What integer problem is modeled below? Looks like I have, if I kind of look at what's going on here, I have some positive ones. In fact, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positives. So I have a positive 5 plus, and then if I take a look at what I have here, I have 2 negatives. So I'm going to put plus -2. And then I'm going to go ahead and solve it. So positive 5 plus -2, if those go together, make those zero pairs, we're left with 3. So our answer would be 3. But the whole problem is our answer there because it says what integer problem is modeled. Number 2, which of the following has the same value as -8 plus -3? Well, -8 plus -3 is the same thing as -11 because we're just going to put those together. So I'm going to go through here and find out which other ones have the same value as -11. I'm seeing lots of minuses, so I'm going to change my problems here to be like -8 plus -3. Well, -8 plus -3 is exactly the same thing as this one. So I know for sure that one works. This one, if I rewrite it, I have -8, and those go together to become +3. So it's two negatives make a positive. And then that's not going to be -11 now. I've got to subtract those to end up with -5. So that one doesn't work. This one is already addition, but I'm going to have to subtract them because one's positive and one's negative to get a +5. And again, this one has those two negatives. So I have -3 plus 8, which looks just like the one above it to be 5. So my answer would be A. Now would be a good time to put a smiley face by number 2. What is the additive inverse of -7? Well, if I needed to get back to 0, what would I add to -7 to get back to 0? That's what a zero pair is. Well, it would be the opposite, the additive opposite. So we would have a +7 that we would add to -7 to get back to 0. All right, number 4. Sarah deposited $500 into her bank account when she wrote checks for $15 and $48. Then she deposited $400 more. Write an expression that shows the changes in her account. Well, when we deposit money, we add that in. So I'm going to start out with a positive 500. And then she wrote checks for $15 and $48. Well, when we write checks, it takes money out. So we're either subtracting off that value or adding a negative because it's taking that money out. So we could say -15 and -48 to take that money out. And then again, we deposited some more money, so we've got to add 400. Now keep in mind that could be plus -15 and plus -48 as well. Didn't ask us to solve it, so we're just going to write the expression. Okay, so an airplane's elevation is 33,000 feet relative to sea level. A helicopter is flying at an elevation of 25,000 feet. How many thousand feet is a helicopter below the airplane? Well, basically, how far apart are they? So if one's up here, so here's my ground down here, and I've got an airplane up here. I can't really draw an airplane, so we're going to call it an airplane. We're going to call it an A. Is it 3,000 feet? And below is the helicopter at 25,000 feet. And the question is, how far apart are they? How far below is the helicopter? Well, the helicopter is 8,000 feet below because if I just subtract those, 33 minus 25, I end up with 8,000 feet. All right. Number 6, what operation is modeled with the number line below? Well, we've got these jumps. Got a jump. I have one jump, 2, 3, there's 4. So there's 4 jumps or 4 groups of how much in each group? Well, this one is 3, 3, 3, and 3. So 4 groups of 3, which ends up, because 4 times 3 gives us 12. And yes, that's where we ended up. But the problem that we have is 4 groups of 3. Now keep in mind, if it was going the opposite direction, we'd have groups of negative number. So those jumps give us the amount of groups that we have. Using the table below, by how much did the elevation change in location A to location B in each city? So first it's asking, was it an increase or decrease, and by how much? So we went from 712 to 653. Well, that was definitely a decrease. Okay. I think I'm probably just going to put an I or a D from here on. From Houston, 105 to -8 is going to be a decrease. Denver, 5,130 to 5,690 is an increase. And then New Orleans from -2 up to 20 is also an increase. Okay, so now I just got to figure out by how much. So for Burleson, I got to take 712 and subtract 653. So that's all I need to do with that. And we are going to end up with 59 feet. Okay. For Houston, we went from 105 down to -8. So 105 minus the -8, because we went down to 0 and then plus we had to get down farther, so it's really going to be plus. So I'm going to end up with 113 there. That's how far down it went. For Denver, we went from 5,130 up to 5,690. So it's an increase. Well, oh yeah, let's go back here. If it's a decrease, we're going, is that, how much did it change? Could be a -59, depending on how it's worded. The change in elevation was a -59 because we went from here up higher and down. The change in elevation was -113. So this change of elevation is going to be a positive. So this one just asked, first of all, by how much? And so, yeah, it changed by 59 feet. But if it asks what was the change of elevation, it would be a -59 feet to show, oh, it went down -59. For Denver, it increased, and we're going to still have to subtract those to figure out by how much. And so we end up with 560. And this one is going to stay positive of 560 because it is an increase of 560. So by how much did it change? It changed by a positive 560. And same thing here, we increased. So we're starting out with the 20 minus that -2. Okay. And so really, yeah, this would be 712 minus 653. Or yeah, I already did that one. Sorry, backtrack. The 20 minus -2 ends up becoming 20 plus 2, which is 22. So it increased, and so we end up going from the 20 minus the -2, 22 feet. And it is a positive 22 for our change of elevation. All right, number 8, evaluate each expression. So I'm going to do what's in the numerator first. I'm going to do this 5 times negative, or -2 times -5 to get a positive 10. And it's still divided by 10. Well, 10 divided by 10 is just equal to 1. And it's going to stay positive because those two negatives there. This one, I've got to do this part first. I've got -60 because a negative times a positive is a negative, divided by a positive 5. So my answer is going to be a negative, and 5 goes into 60 12 times. This one, I've got a negative times a negative, so it's going to be a positive 24 divided by a -2. Well, now I have a positive divided by a negative, so my answer is going to be a negative 12 because 2 goes into 24 12 times. Number 9, Colton was losing weight, and for the past 3 weeks, he lost 2 pounds each week. What is the change in Colton's weight after 3 weeks? So every 3 weeks, he lost 2 pounds. So 3 weeks, he went down 2 pounds. So I'm going to write -2 for that. So 3 times -2 would be -6. So his change of weight is -6 pounds. That would be our answer for that change of weight. Put a smiley face down here at the bottom of this one, too. All right, and then number 10, Sandy bought 3 pounds of bananas at $3 a pound. a box of mac and cheese for $2 and 6 fruit pies for $3 each. What's the change in the amount of money she has? Change in the amount of money she has. So we're going to figure out how much she spent. So 3 pounds of bananas at $3 each is $9 for bananas. And then mac and cheese, there's just one of those at $2, so that's going to be $2 more. And then 6 fruit pies at $3 each is a total of $18. So she spent, if I add those up, a total of $29. So what is the change in the amount of money that she has? Well, she didn't gain any money. She actually, it went away because she spent. So the change is going to be a negative $29. All right, so that would be our answer for that one. Order the following expressions from least to, or greatest to least, based on their solutions. So I've got to solve each of these, and then I got to put them in order from least to greatest. So, I've got this, I noticed, so I've got plus 3 here. So I have negative 4 plus 6 plus 3. Well, these are both positive, and it's all adding and subtracting. So I can put those together first and end up with negative 4 plus 9. So I'm going to end up with a total of 5. If I would have just gone in order, I would have had 2 here and then plus 3 to get 5. This one I've got to use my order of operations because I see I have multiplication here. I always have to use my order of operations. Well, negative 2 times negative 5 is 10. Plus 6 is going to give me 16. And then finally, I've got several steps here. I'm going to start here to get negative 12 because a negative times a positive is negative, divided by 2, and then plus 5. Well, now I've got to do the negative 2, or negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6, plus 5 gives me negative 1. So if I put them in order from least, or from greatest to least, this would be our first value. It's our largest, followed by the 5 being our second value, and then last would be the smallest number, which is negative 1. All right, number 12, draw a number line representation of 6 plus negative 8. So I'm going to draw my number line here. So we're going to have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, negative 1, negative 2. I might need it bigger, hopefully not. So I start out at 0 and I go 6. And I'm going to the right because it's positive. Plus negative 8. No, that negative tells me I have to go back to the left. So I got to go 8 spaces. There's 6, 7, 8. And I end up right here. So 6 plus negative 8 on my number line, I've shown it, and I know that my answer is negative 2. I've just proven that. So a spelunker travels down a cave at a depth of 50 meters below the surface, and his friend, so this guy, here's our surface of everything, and he's down 50, so he's at negative 50, and his friend is down 3 times as deep, so 1, 2, 3. Well, basically, I've got 3 groups of negative 50. Well, 3 groups of negative 50 is going to be negative 150. So his friend is at negative 150. Okay, evaluate. So these are just, can you add, subtract, multiply, and divide? Negative times negative, going to give me a positive, and 7 times 9 is 63. You don't need that positive. I just was writing it down there. We're adding. So I have a positive 15 and a negative 20. If I think about, I've got to move left, right, and then left. And I'm going to end up at negative 5 because really I'm going to subtract them. I'm dividing here. I've got a positive or a negative divided by a positive means that I'm going to end up with a negative answer. And 36 divided by 6 is 6. I've got another addition problem here, but I have negative plus negative. So negative plus negative, I just add those to get negative 23. This one, I've got both of these negative together here. So I really have 15 plus 8. Well, 15 plus 8, just normal addition. They're all positive. I end up with 23. And then finally, I have 2 negatives again. So I have negative 11 plus 6. I have to subtract them because one's positive and one's negative. I end up with negative 5. If you're not understanding, come in and ask us questions. Good luck.